Alright, this is project number 1. It is replacing this wonderful folding table gate with an actual gate. So I am about to get going and we'll see how it goes. So now I have my measurements. I can actually go out and start working in my workshop on it. Alright, being the first video, I figured I'd show you around my workshop just to see kind of how I have it set up. It's still definitely a work in progress. We'll see how that goes as time goes on. But I have done a lot of organization down here and try to make things better. And I apologize ahead of time if the video isn't all that. I do not have all the equipment. Hopefully over time I get better equipment and we can go from there. But so this is my workbench where I do primary drafting of ideas, little work, stuff like that. These are great for organization. I love them and they're really cheap. You can find them, I think I got them at Home Depot, but I'm not 100% sure. And of course I have all my tools on the wall. I have no little workbench just for miscellaneous stuff. And then I have my painting area, which if you kind of see, I have a paint booth, a kind of cheesy paint booth set up, and we'll see how that goes over time as well. I've got a bunch of tools, but nothing crazy. Most people probably have the same amount, if not more. I've just found a way to organize things and go with that. My primary tools are circular saw, my radio arm saw, great for chopping down distances, and of course a little jigsaw and a router table. My father was nice enough, let me add some more light, to actually get me a really great Christmas present this year. I just haven't had a chance to hook it up, and that is a dust collection unit. So as time goes on, I can keep this area clean. My current dust collection is just a simple shop vac with hoses hooked up to each item. Alright, so back to the project. As you can see, I have bought this setup. It's adding porch railing. It is not a gate, so I get to find the way to turn it into a gate. I've bought some hinges and a little lock thing. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's not a total failure. Alright, so we'll kind of set you over here as I open it up and figure out how I'm going to do this. I will add all the parts that I use and all of the descriptions in the comment section or in the information section. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out as well. Pretty straightforward. You have your slats. are just hollow plastic. It matches the current porch setup that I have. And I was kind of concerned about this not being in here, but I'm glad that they did include it. So this is what will hold the rails to the rest of it to swing open. Normally these just hold it in place. See how it goes. Oh, they hit some more rails on me. There's something else. There we go. So this would be the top rail. See, it's a little bit bigger. Has all the places for it. And this would be the bottom rail. So I have 66 3/4 to fill, but I know once I start putting in the hinges and everything else to hold it in place, that distance is going to change. Thinking about just using treated 2x4s painted white to hold the hinges in the gate, so that will be interesting as well. But considering that, I need to count that into my total length. I like to sketch everything out, how I'm going to make it work. I am going to have to go get my hinges. So I think instead of having to go out and buy new top and bottom, I do want to do a split door or gate. I don't want to do just one big one. So these won't give me that solution, but it will give me half the solution. So the other half, I am just going to have to use maybe my router or jigsaw and cut out pieces of wood that look kind of like this as best as I can. I also have a 3D printer, luckily, so if I have to, maybe I'll just use that. Do what you can, right? On that gate opening, it was actually 66 3/4, but that will leave a nice little gap in between them of 3/4 if I measure to 66. So that's what I'm going to go with. So what I've done is I've taken that total length, I don't know if you can see it, I've added for the 2x4s that I'm going to use. They're going to be sideways, so it's only 1.5 inches space. So I've subtracted 3 inches for each 2x4 on each side to make a 30-inch gap in between. So I've measured, remeasured to make sure that I fall in the middle of between the spaces. I've had to take 1.5 inches off each side, and if you look, that puts me nicely in the middle of these two spaces. So I won't have any big gaps for the dogs to try to squeeze through. Alright, so now it's just cutting them. Try to figure out the best way to do this. And I keep forgetting basic stuff, like using a nice square. I don't remember the names of each of them. I just know what I prefer for each job. I am not professional by any means, but I've been doing enough stuff for long enough to understand how to do things properly And those things I don't know how to do properly, I look up or I ask. So please, if you have comments saying that I'm doing something wrong or I should be doing it differently, let me know, because I like to improve. I don't like to do things the wrong way. Not that this is really needed when I use my saw, because it does cut 90 degrees, but it's always good to validate that you have lead in your pencil. But it's always good to validate that you do things right the first time. And a good rule of thumb for anyone new to this is once you make a mark where you're going to cut something, put an X in the spot that you don't need. So you know you're going to put the blade to this side of the line and not to this side. For this project, it probably wouldn't matter if I was 1/8 of an inch off or 1/16 of an inch off. But for some projects, it's very important, so I use that rule of thumb for everything. I apologize. I think I may be coming down with a cold. No fun, especially when you have a to-do list like mine. Once again, these X's, especially on the end, are not really needed. It's just something I like to do. Make sure I'm doing it the same way every time, all the time. Alright. And before you cut anything, always, always, always use ear protection and eye protection. I cannot stress that enough. It has scared me many times to be working on something and all of a sudden I cannot see. Not a good thing when you have a big power saw. And once again, I'm just hooking up my dust collection, and it comes over so that hopefully I can keep a little bit less mess. As you can see, I don't always use it. I've taken this apart, pulled it up, and yeah, it is filthy. I have a whole bunch of hair because I vacuumed out some stuff. So let me start there. And I am actually going to use my new dust collector to vacuum out this filter. not want to lose that. I'm going to knock off some of this, but it's making a mess, so I'll just come over here. Yep, I am definitely going to have to get this hooked up sooner than later. Another item to add to my list. Because that was fantastic. It cleaned it right up. Let me just... There's the problem. It wasn't even the package. Now, to use my 2x4s. Alright, now this wood is not the most beautiful wood. You find that a lot with pressure treated, and that would cause some issues, I think, over time. This is all I have right now. So I don't want to run to the store. Just dawned on me, I did buy some new wood filler that I had around the shop, so I don't have to go anywhere. This will do just fine, as I'm going to paint the piece of wood anyways. Might as well go with that. And yes, being a guy, I'm not afraid to use pink stuff. Now supposedly this will change color once it dries. We'll see how it turns out. Alright, so there's some cracks in here I'm not a big fan of, so I'm just going to try my best to fill those in so that water can't get down, because I don't think the paint is going to cover those. And if you haven't used this before, it's kind of got the consistency of a really soft clay. So you just spread it in, smooth it out. You can sand it after, so you don't have to worry about being perfect. But it fills the holes, makes it a usable piece of wood. Real quick note, if you guys do not have these and you're painting anything, you need to invest in some. They are fantastic. Alright, I do have to say my new fan is working great at sucking in some of that spray paint. Alright, we'll come back in a little bit and do a second coat, maybe a third, and go from there. I will keep you guys posted and show you when I start putting it back together.